1. Labour's £700 million EV grants and charging upgrades, boosting electric car sales in the UK. 2. £63 million boost for electric vehicle charging in the UK. 4. UK's £700 million boost for electric vehicles, what you need to know. 5. How Pavement Gullies are revolutionizing EV home charging without driveways. 1. Labour's £700 million EV grants and charging upgrades, boosting electric car sales in the UK. Labour's £700 million gamble on electric cars is sparking fierce debate, and it's not just about green goals. The UK government is rolling out a massive plan to boost electric vehicle, EV, sales, but the details reveal a tangled web of incentives, controversies, and questions about who truly benefits. Here's the full story, and why this could be a turning point for the future of driving. But here's where it gets controversial. The new scheme isn't just about making EVs cheaper, it's about reshaping the entire automotive landscape, and not everyone's on board. And this is the part most people miss. The program's focus on domestic manufacturing, and its potential to favor certain brands over others could ignite a firestorm of criticism. The plan, led by Transport Secretary Heidi Alexander, aims to tackle two major hurdles for EV adoption: sky-high upfront costs and limited charging infrastructure. With the average new EV costing nearly £50,000, more than double the price of a petrol car, many drivers are hesitant to switch. Plus, EVs depreciate faster due to battery degradation, making them a riskier investment. Alexander admits, "We've got to be honest, many people think EVs are only for the wealthy." But the government's solution? A £700 million taxpayer-funded push to make EVs more accessible. The first part of the plan is a £640 million grant scheme designed to lower down payments on new EVs. Here's the catch: the grants will prioritize vehicles made in the UK, with Nissan's Sunderland plant set to benefit significantly. The company is preparing to produce the next generation of its popular Leaf model, and the subsidies could give it a competitive edge. However, higher-end models like Tesla's might be excluded, raising questions about whether this is a fair approach or a disguised form of protectionism. Critics might ask, is this about supporting British industry, or is it a way to prop up struggling automakers? The second pillar of the plan is a £63 million investment in charging infrastructure. This includes installing on-street charging points for residents without driveways, a game-changer for urban drivers. It also involves expanding electric ambulance fleets and adding signage for charging stations on major roads. But here's the kicker: the government is reviving a subsidy system that was scrapped by the previous administration in 2022. Back then, drivers received £1,500 off new EVs, but the scheme was axed under the claim that it had successfully kick-started the electric car revolution. Yet, recent data shows private EV demand has plummeted by 65% year-on-year, with fleet purchases, like those from the Motability scheme, now driving growth. Motability, a taxpayer-funded program that leases cars to disabled individuals, has become a major buyer of EVs, recently doubling its fleet to 70,000 vehicles. While this aligns with net zero goals, it's also drawn criticism. Some argue the scheme is a benefits scandal due to its size and lack of transparency. Is this a win for sustainability, or a misallocation of public funds? The government says it's about accessibility, but the debate isn't going away. The broader question is whether this £700 million investment is a smart move or a costly distraction. With just 1.5 million EVs on UK roads compared to 30 million petrol and diesel cars, the transition is still in its early stages. But as Alexander notes, the goal is to shift from range anxiety to range awareness, ensuring drivers feel confident about their EV's capabilities. However, critics might argue that focusing on subsidies for wealthy buyers or domestic manufacturers ignores the needs of everyday consumers. So, what's the takeaway? Labour's plan is a bold attempt to accelerate EV adoption, but it's not without risks. Will these grants truly make EVs affordable for the masses, or will they entrench existing inequalities? And is the emphasis on UK manufacturing a necessary step for economic resilience, or a red herring that distracts from bigger challenges? The answers could shape the future of transportation and your next car purchase. What do you think? Share your take in the comments. 2. £63 million boost for electric vehicle charging in the UK. New £63 million boost for Britain's electric vehicle revolution. This £63 million package aims to break down barriers to electric vehicle ownership and boost charging infrastructure across the UK, cutting costs for families, businesses, and the public sector. It includes a £25 million initiative for local authorities to expand at-home charging access, offering households without driveways to save up to £1,500 annually by switching to cheaper household rates. Innovatively, cross-pavement technology allows cables to run beneath pavements, connecting homes directly to parked vehicles, enabling families to tap into domestic electricity at 2 pence per mile even without a driveway. Additionally, the government has invested £400 million in the local EV infrastructure fund to build 100,000 additional charge points, and £6 billion in private funding to reach 2030. This investment supports both personal and public sectors, with the NHS in England now receiving an £8 million fund to electrify ambulances and medical fleets, saving millions in operational costs and reinvesting in patient care. As part of the plan for change, the government plans to invest £1.6 billion in tackling potholes and frozen fuel duties to reduce motorist expenses. This move underpins its mission to drive economic growth and make electric vehicles more accessible for working families while creating green jobs. The government emphasizes that this shift isn't just about charging infrastructure, it's about building a fairer, cleaner future where every family benefits from cheaper, greener transport. Public chargers are already in place, with over 82,000 sockets installed nationwide, ensuring drivers are always within reach. Transport Secretary Heidi Alexander highlighted the importance of clear EV charging signage on major roads, which has doubled since 2023. The government will soon signpost larger hubs from strategic A-road locations, improving accessibility. A £400 million spending review pledge supports charging infrastructure, including on the strategic road network. Meanwhile, businesses will receive grants to install charging points at depots, helping heavy goods vehicles, vans, and coaches transition to zero emissions. This aligns with recent updates to the Zero Emission Vehicle (ZEV) mandate to support carmakers and bolster British manufacturing. Owning and buying electric cars has become increasingly affordable, with 2 in 5 used cars sold below £20,000 and 34 new models available under £30,000. The UK was the largest EV market in Europe in 2024, with over 382,000 EVs sold, upping the record to 82,000 public charge points. Health Minister Karen Smith noted that this move ensures the NHS remains fit for the future while reducing emissions and fuel costs. Edmund King, AA President, emphasized that there are more public chargers than people realize, often hidden in plain sight. Instavolt CEO Delvin Lane praised official EV charging signage as a crucial step toward boosting adoption. Charge UK CEO Vicky Reid stressed that these signs will help drivers locate charging stations and reassure potential buyers. 4. UK's £700 million boost for electric vehicles, what you need to know. Imagine a world where driving an electric vehicle, EV, is as affordable as driving a conventional car. The UK is on the brink of making this a reality, with a groundbreaking £700 million subsidy scheme aimed at encouraging drivers to make the switch to electric vehicles. Officials in Whitehall are putting the final touches on new policies designed to tackle the high upfront costs of EVs and the perceived lack of charging infrastructure. But here's where it gets controversial. While the government is investing heavily, some argue that this might not be enough to overcome the deep-seated concerns of potential EV buyers. Automotive industry leaders have been eagerly awaiting details on the government's next steps to make electric vehicles more affordable for individual buyers, outside of company car schemes. Last month's spending review allocated £1.4 billion to support the continued uptake of electric vehicles, including vans and HGVs. It is anticipated that an announcement will be made this week, revealing that up to £700 million of this budget will be used for subsidies or grants to reduce the purchase costs of electric vehicles. However, Whitehall sources have cautioned that these plans are still awaiting final approval. If approved, this new scheme will provide a financial incentive for everyday motorists to buy electric vehicles for the first time since the plug-in grant ended in 2022. This initiative is not just about making EVs more affordable, it's also about ensuring that the industry has better charging infrastructure. Ashvin Prasad, the chief executive of Tesco UK, emphasized that this new scheme will be crucial in providing the necessary charging infrastructure to support the industry's transition to electric vehicles. The government is also allocating £25 million to facilitate home charging for households without driveways. This innovative solution involves cutting gullies into footways to allow cables to run safely beneath paving slabs, enabling street-parked cars to be charged at home. Approximately 20,000 of these charging points are scheduled to be installed between now and the end of 2026. Ministers are also keen to incentivize businesses to make the switch. Heidi Alexander, the Transport Secretary, will unveil a £30 million package on Sunday to fund thousands of charge points at delivery depots. This move is expected to pave the way for millions of groceries and goods deliveries to be made by zero-emission vehicles. Alexander believes that these changes will not only cut pollution but also create jobs and drive investment. She mentioned that the changes could include a grant to enable private purchasers to buy cheaper cars. "We are making it easier and cheaper for British businesses to go electric," Alexander said. This investment will position Britain as a global leader in electric freight, supporting cleaner vans and lorries and cutting business costs to transition to zero emission. With more than 1.4 million electric vehicles already on our roads, we're backing our logistics sector to cut pollution and drive jobs and investment across the UK. Ashvin Prasad, the chief executive of Tesco UK, highlighted that while Tesco has been rolling out electric vans and trialling electric-powered lorries, there is still more work to be done to reach their target of carbon neutrality across their operations by 2035. This scheme is an important step in ensuring the industry has the charging infrastructure needed to continue the electrification of our transport operations, he said. Chris Ashley, from the Road Haulage Association, RHA, emphasized the importance of depot charging for the widespread adoption of electric HGVs, coaches, and vans. Quite simply, without the ability to charge at depot, we are not going to see the introduction of electric HGVs, coaches, and vans at the pace required, he said. The government scheme will enable delivery firms to run more electric vehicles, addressing one of the key challenges in the transition to electric transport. One of the problems with home charging has been the trip hazard it creates for pedestrians. With the new charging points, the cable will run under the footway, eliminating this risk. Electric car sales rose by 39.1% to 47,354 units in June, with 1 in 4 buyers opting for electric vehicles, according to the Society of Motor Manufacturers and Traders. However, this is still below the mandated level, which requires that 28% of new car sales and 16% of new van sales be zero-emission this year. Currently, drivers can benefit from generous tax breaks if an electric car is bought on a company scheme. However, this benefit is not universally available. And this is the part most people miss. The true cost of transitioning to electric vehicles goes beyond just the purchase price. It includes the infrastructure needed to support widespread adoption, which is why the government's investment in charging infrastructure is so crucial. But here's a thought-provoking question. Do you think the government's £700 million subsidy scheme will be enough to convince the average driver to switch to electric vehicles, or is more investment needed to overcome the perceived barriers? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. 5. How pavement gullies are revolutionizing EV home charging without driveways. Imagine this. You're an eco-conscious driver who's made the switch to an electric vehicle, EV, but every time you charge your car, you're forced to drape a cable across the sidewalk like a makeshift tightrope. It's a frustrating reality for millions, and one the UK government is finally addressing head-on. Here's the plan. Councils across England are being urged to install discrete pavement channels that let homeowners charge their EVs directly from their homes, even if they lack a driveway. But here's where the controversy kicks in. Who's responsible if someone trips over a misplaced cover, and will cash-strapped councils actually embrace the idea? Let's break it down. The government's new £25 million scheme aims to replace hazardous sidewalk cable spaghetti with subterranean solutions. These pavement gullies are essentially narrow, covered trenches that run from homes to the curb, providing a safe path for charging cables. It's a simple fix for a major problem. Over 9.3 million UK households park on the street, leaving them reliant on pricey public chargers or risky DIY setups. Why the urgency? Charging at home is far cheaper thanks to lower VAT rates, 5% versus 20% at public stations, but without a driveway, many feel stuck. This isn't just about convenience, it's about fairness. We can't have a two-tier system where only homeowners with driveways can go electric, argues Transport Secretary Heidi Alexander. The plan also includes upgraded signage for motorway chargers and 1,200 new NHS charge points, easing range anxiety for emergency vehicles. But critics question if £25 million is enough. It's a drop in the ocean, says one skeptic. Without long-term funding, councils will drag their feet. Some communities are already leading the charge. Turbocharge, a UK startup, has installed gullies in 30 areas, from Cornwall to Stirling. Yet others hesitate, fearing lawsuits over uneven pavements or disputes over parking rights. Who decides which cars get to use the gullies, asks a London resident. It's a recipe for neighbour wars. Cost is another hurdle. While the channels themselves are cheap, around £1,000 per install, maintenance falls to cash-strapped councils. We're happy to install them, admits a Manchester councillor, but if a cover breaks, who pays? It can't just be us. The debate highlights a broader tension: how to balance EV adoption with public safety and fiscal reality. Charging companies like InstaVolt applaud the signage reforms, calling them a game-changer for driver confidence. But drivers still face a charging class divide, as urban residents pay more per mile than petrol users, a fact that's embarrassing for a net-zero government, says Turbocharge's Michael Golden. So what's next? The government insists gullies are a no-brainer, but success hinges on local buy-in. As one EV owner puts it, "I want to do the right thing, but I shouldn't have to choose between sustainability and a lawsuit." Now it's your turn. Should councils be forced to adopt these gullies, or is this a case of misplaced priorities? Do the benefits outweigh the risks, or are we just paving the way for new problems? Share your thoughts below. The future of EVs depends on it.